Hey guys, D. Williams here, live. Hold on, I'm gonna we have our setup class today. Our setup and our running class today. It's our Q&A call for Staffingpreneurs Academy. We are here every week. You already know. So excited. I'm waiting for everybody to come in. Okay, perfect. And I'm opening up on Staffingpreneurs Academy to make sure that my weekly clients are here and I have them logged in. Oh, I hope that's better. Okay, perfect. All right. So we're here with Staffingpreneurs Academy. My name is D. Williams, Coach D. Williams. I'm right here. I help professionals just like you set up, start, and scale your very own niche recruitment and staffing agency. And this particular live is the live that we do on a weekly basis to help professionals who are a part of Staffingpreneurs Academy just give you an opportunity to ask questions along the way as you're building your staffing business. And I just want to welcome you to our live stream, and you can feel free to come in and ask any questions that you have. I typically, I definitely want to ask what's your name, where you're chiming in from. I definitely want to know and see how I can support you. And also, what's your niche? I would love to see how I can support you in building your staffing business. And we're going to be here not long today, but I want to open the lines up for questions. That's literally the first thing. The more important thing to me is opening the lines up for questions. If you have questions about starting your very own niche recruitment and staffing business, this is the place to be. Every Monday at this time, this is the place to be. And so, otherwise noted. And while I wait for questions to come in, typically what I do is I go in and I just start teaching and talking about staffing and why you're bringing your questions in. And today I want to talk about not just the process of building out your staffing business, but also the process of scaling it, right? Because I've been helping entrepreneurs for over 10 years, definitely build staffing businesses. Like, I'm definitely the queen of helping you set up your staffing business. There's no question about that, right? And in doing that, I've been able to see a lot of different things. I can see, what works, what doesn't work. I know what to set up, when to set it up, why to set it up. In addition to just being an expert in recruitment and staffing, being able to build these staffing businesses have been very, very, awesome. It's been cool. It's been awesome. And it's been pivotal in me understanding like what the secret blueprint is to actually building a profitable staffing agency, right? And there is a blueprint, believe it or not. So people don't know that there's a blueprint, or they may not realize, but it is a solid blueprint on how to build a staffing agency business and how to build a profitable one and how to scale one. So I want to talk to you a little bit about that today. I hope you're fired up, because I'm fired up, as you can tell. I hope y'all can hear me. I don't even have my mic near me. Is this better? Testing. One of the things that I've learned over the last 10 years, a lot of people have funds to start a business, but not everybody has the ability to actually execute the idea. And that's a hard pill to swallow for some people, because everyone feels like if I have the means, then I can do it. But in all actuality, to be able to accomplish something, the means is just a resource, right? You have to have something inside to be able to actually get the idea off the ground and actually execute it and working and not even generating revenue. To forget that. I'm talking about just getting it off the ground and getting it going. And so in this business, I've learned that a lot of people got money, but they can't actually get the business idea off the ground. And so today I want to talk about getting the business idea off the ground. I want to talk about getting the idea off the ground in order to generate revenue. And those are two totally different, pieces of the pie. We used to get on my smart board and go through this whole checklist of things that I want to remind people every week when they're starting a staffing business. I haven't done a live board in a long time, even though you get me kind of fired up and make me feel like I should be doing a live board. I haven't done a live board in a long time. But one of the things that we talk about in that live board is how we're engaging with people. So I'm going to share my screen here. Y'all know I love to share my screen. I see y'all here. What's your name? Where you chiming in from? Don't be shy. I see you here. What's your name? Where you chiming in from? I see all of you. Okay, let's dive in. Let's get into some goodness here. We're talking about setting this business up. Okay, so first of all, do you have a network? Do you have a network? Do you have a network? Can you create a network? Those are the first things that you want to think about when you're starting a staffing business. Do you have a network, or do you have the ability to create a network? Do you have a network, or do you have the ability to create a network? If you have a network, this is a great business model for you. Now, when I say a network, I don't mean 3 people. I don't mean 5 people. I don't mean 10 people. I mean a network. A network is typically 50 people or more that you can actually pick up the phone and say, hey, girl, guess what? I got something to tell you, right? Or, hey, I want to invite you to my, 50 people you genuinely know. Do you have a network? And a lot of you have a network. Most of you have a network, but you don't really have your network visually in your mind as a network, right? It's just random people all over the place. I challenge you to sit down, get a spreadsheet, and just start naming everyone in your network that is all of a particular type. So if you know all real estate agents, or all nurses, or all a nurse type, like one of my clients, she's got networks of different types of healthcare facilities up under her belt of people she can physically call and say, hey, I need a favor, or hey, I want to talk to you about something, right? Do you have a network? Get those people together, because you probably do have a network more than you think you do, right? But you want to start listing those out on a spreadsheet. That's the first thing. If you say, well, D, I don't really have a network per se. I mean, I come across people, I touch bases. I can build a network though. That's totally cool too. Like if you feel like you have the energy and the power to build a network, you're in a great space. This would be a great business opportunity for you, because building a network is just as powerful as already having one. When you have one, you're going to have to cultivate that network and expand that network. But when you are starting fresh, there's a different energy about that too, right? Being able to start with person number 1 of the network and watching it grow and literally organically building that network out, you can absolutely do that. Now, listen, when you have this network, there are companies that will pay you a lot of money for your network. And they don't want everybody in your network per se. They want the perfect person in your network. And your job is to be able to understand, 1, to have the relationship with the network, 2, be able to understand how to work your network, right? How to maneuver your network in order to see the outcomes that you need, right? That's the point of having a network, or at least one. I mean, not the whole point, but at least one is for you to be able to have a group of people that you can connect with and engage with on a professional level that have some level of commitment to you, and you have some level of commitment to them, right? That is your network, right? So period. Okay. So you got this network, you either have one or you're creating this network, and now you're taking that network and you're introducing that network or people within that network to employers who are looking to hire people in that way, right? And now we're getting into the idea of staffing. And so now I want to tell you something. If you're creating a network, I want you to be very mindful about the type of network that you're creating. If you already have a network, that's great. We're going to go to that space and time where you are. We're going to look at whatever the job title is of that network that you have. So you should have is 50 nurses, 50 warehouse professionals, whatever it is, that's cool. We want to go in and figure out what their salary is and their hourly rate. Write that down. What's the salary? What's the hourly rate of the people that are already in your network? Okay, where you have your core network. That's the first thing you want to do. The second thing I want to say is if you're creating a network, then the question is, what type of network are you creating? What are the roles? And for me, in my opinion, you want to create a network of people with roles where the salaries are either mid to high to start out. Even though some of you might be saying, well, D, I want to start a second chance staffing agency, or I want to start a light industrial staffing agency. Those salaries aren't high. The hourly rates aren't high, and you can definitely do that. I just want you to know that for you, volume is going to be the key, because you're looking at more of what we consider commercial staffing, which are blue collar hourly rate and salaries. Right. And so because this business model works off of hourly rates and salaries, the lower the hourly rate and salary, the more people you have to place in order to make a substantial amount of money. The higher the salary and hourly rate, the less people you have to place, but you can still make a substantial amount of money. Okay. And so that's where you got to figure out when you're creating your network. Am I creating my network of blue collar workers? Am I creating my network of white collar workers? Okay. And neither is good or bad. It's all about the business model that you are looking to, put out there. Okay. So, all right. So now you got an idea and you of who you're going to create your network with, or you already have a network. Now let's talk about money. Okay, because that's very important. And you got to have a financial goal when you're starting this business. Once you figured out your network, and what you're doing, whether you're creating or you already have, then you want to come up with a financial goal. For me, I think everybody's financial goal year one should be $1 million, whether you feel like you can obtain that goal or not. I don't want you to create a realistic goal, because goals are not supposed to be realistic. That's the point of a goal, right? We're going after something. If your goal is $1 million, then you at least have something to work towards. You're going to make way more than $100,000 if your goal is $1 million. You're going to get closer to that $1 million mark, right? It's kind of scary for some people to even think that they have the ability to make $1 million in a year if they've never even made $25,000 in a month. But it's very, very possible. It's very, very doable. I want to show you that not only, do you have the power to do that, other people have the power to do it too. So while I'm showing you what I'm about to show you, I want you in your mind to start thinking about what is my financial goal for the year for my business, right? What's my financial goal? What is the goal that I am attempting to hit? That is very, 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 very important. Okay. I'm trying to get my share on here. And so $1 million your first year. Why do you think that I'm telling you to do your $1 million in your first year? I'm going to tell you why right now. Let me share my screen. And I like sharing my screen, right? When I start sharing my screen, that's when it gets real. Okay. So let's go add you here. All right. So you see my little spreadsheet right here. This is one of the presentations, and I'm gonna try to move this over. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna swap displays. There you go. So I share this with my clients when I'm getting them signed up into my academy, because when I tell people, like, you can definitely do this business and you can make millions, if not billions of dollars, they don't believe me. And I just want to show you how other companies in the industry have been moving. Randstad, 25.68 billion. They started in 1960. Manpower Group, 17.54 billion, started in 1948. This one is very interesting. Allegiance Group, owned by Steve Biscotti. If you're a football fan, he owns the Baltimore Ravens. He is worth over $7 billion, believe it or not, if I remember correctly. I want to say 7.6 billion dollars is his net worth. But he's actually on this top 10 list in three places: Allegiance Group, Tech Systems, and Aerotech. He's got three different staffing businesses in the top 10 highest revenue generating staffing agencies of 2025 right now. That's insane. Adecco Group, he started in 1983, just FYI. Some of you were born in 83. Adecco Group, 1992, started 33 years ago. They were $5.8 billion. Robert Half, their high-end accounting and finance, at least that's what they started out as. 5.6 billion, started in 1948. Kelly Services started in 46, 4.5 billion. And then you got K4, started in 62 at 1.38 billion. You might be saying, these are legacies. Yeah, they're the older ones, so no question about that. But look at this healthcare space. It gets a little bit different. Aya Healthcare, a lot of you know Aya, 6.9 billion. They just started 24 years ago. How many of you have a 24-year-old? I do. Not trying to date myself. CHG Healthcare, 5 billion, started 46 years ago. Medical Solutions, 3 billion, 24 years ago they started. Jackson Healthcare, 2 billion, 25 years ago. I feel like I'm sweating right now. Maxim Healthcare, 2.6 billion, 37 years ago. They started at 88. I have a child that was born in 89. AMN Healthcare, 2.8 billion, started in 85, 40 years ago. Cross Country Healthcare, 1.26 billion, started 39 years ago. Health Trust Workforce Solutions, 1.5 billion, started 34 years ago. All Medical Personnel, they don't disclose how much they made, but they're in the $1 billion range, and so is Triage Staffing. Both are on that top 10 all $1 billion staffing agencies. Triage started 19 years ago. All Medical Personnel started in 1990. You can absolutely do this. And then let's just talk about in the last 10, 11 years, you've got the following companies: Summit Medical, 40 million, just 11 years ago. Okay. Australia Global, 38 million, 11 years ago they started. Spectra 360, 19.6 million, started 12 years ago, and they're in light industrial transportation and logistics, which is pretty impressive. Curate Partners, they started 11 years ago. They're at 18 million. And Euro Placement, 8.8 million, started 11 years ago. And so my question to you is, where do you see yourself? Where do you see yourself 10 years from now, 11 years from now? What's your vision, right? What's your vision? This is very, 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 very important, a very important question. And I just want to tell you that, if you have a network or if you're willing to create a network, you can absolutely do this. This is one of my favorite slides. I'll share this with you since we're here. Most people think the staffing business works like this. They think that you just call a company and they're just going to give you a signed contract because you called. They think that you can just reach out after you got that contract to see who's looking for work. Maybe just post a job, put it on Indeed, throw it on maybe a couple of other job boards, wait for people to go in and review the resume. You're going to go in and interview the applicant, send the applicant's resume to the employer. The employer is going to agree right off the break to interview the applicants that you sent over. They're going to meet. They're going to interview. The candidate is going to agree to work the job. The employer says yes. The candidate says yes. The candidate shows up for work and you get paid. That's how most people think the business works. And that's true in 1989, right? But if you talk about how the business works today, it looks a lot different. It actually looks like this. Some people say this looks like a New York subway station or maybe DC. I don't know. But it looks a lot more like this. Why? Because we have automation. We have more policy and regulation in process. We've learned a thing or two about how people move, just their motivations. And hiring, the process of hiring has also changed a lot. with online automation. You've got AI, you've got a lot of different things that are happening. And each one of these bullet points represent a part of the staffing process that as an owner, you should understand, know, and have policies and procedures and processes around each of those bullet points. Here at Staffingpreneurs Academy, we go through each of these and show you how to do those. If you look at this sheet, this roadmap, as you would say, the top layer is really your candidate journey. It's how your candidate gets from the top of the journey to the bottom of the journey, how you're going from attracting the talent through the hiring process all the way through retaining them through the hiring process. The bottom journey is the client journey, the employer journey. This is the person we're placing the candidate, into their role, right? And so from acquiring that client, going all the way through the hiring process to the end of the hiring process is very important. That's their journey. And then you as the staffing agency, you're managing both of those pieces of the process. And so the middle, the hot pink, is your journey. It's the work that you have to do to ensure that the candidate gets into the mix, that the employer gets into the mix, that we take them through the entire hiring process, and that we get the match made. So let's take a moment right now to go through this hiring process in a little bit more detail so that you can understand that your process, how you manage this hiring process, is going to define your level of success in your staffing business. And it also defines how well that placement is going to be. Because it's very easy to, especially smaller companies, and I see it all the time, they don't really take hiring seriously. They just have a need. So they just find somebody and they bring them in. And you learn very quickly the hard way, and it becomes very expensive, that if you don't have a process in place, you're going to get random people, and they're going to treat you the way you create that hiring process, right? So if you don't have a process, if you're not onboarding them, if you don't have rules in place, they're going to respect your business at that level. When you do, they'll respect that at that level as well. And I'm talking about your internal staff and then the people that you are interviewing to go into that employer's company. They're watching you as well. And you're a representation of not just your staffing agency, but you're also a representation of the company that you are interviewing candidates to be hired into. And those candidates are looking at your process as well as that process. So you're being interviewed in this process right now. So, and where you start out is attracting talent, right? You're always going to start off with attracting. And there's three types of candidates that are out in the world floating right now and forever. There is an active candidate. That means that's somebody who is actively looking for a job right now. Meaning, listen, honey, I'm ready to work. I'm applying for jobs. I'm in it. I'm doing whatever I need to do to get the job. Then there's the semi-active and or semi-passive. Same thing. This is someone who's definitely not looking for a job. However, their resume is on point. Their LinkedIn profile is up to date. They're not necessarily applying, but if you call them and reach out, they're going to talk to you. They're going to listen, and they may be open to leaving their current job even, right? The only thing with these people you got to be careful with is that a lot of times when you have a semi-active / semi-passive candidate, they're more likely to take a counter offer, right? They're in that counter offer space. This is where it gets a little dangerous, because people who take counter offers, they're not really interested in the role. They're interested in interviewing for other jobs so that they can tell their employer, hey, somebody else offered me more money. You better pay me more or keep me. So they're using you. So you've got to be very strategic about how you're engaging with a semi-active / semi-passive candidate. But they are out there. They're typically working a job. They're happy. But if something else comes along that looks and sounds and pays better, it's better, geographical location, better opportunity, they would definitely leave their job for it. So they're a sweet spot for us. And they're a sweet spot for us because employers like to hire people who are already working. If you're unemployed, unfortunately, employers look at that as like, why are you available? Why are you not work? Why doesn't somebody else already have you? If you're not working, you're not good. That's how they see it, even though that doesn't make sense. But that's literally how they see it. So your semi-active passive candidate is like your dream candidate. And your active could be if they're currently working, but if they're unemployed, not so much. And then you have your third candidate type, which is your passive candidate. Now, your passive candidate is probably going to be your meanest candidate 9 times out of 10. They might not be, but 9 times out of 10, they're the ones that hang up on you, be disrespectful to you, ask you, tell you you're a fraud, ask you, why are you bothering them? They already have a job. They're happy. They're a little more disgruntled, I feel like, over my years of recruiting, but sometimes you find them to be very pleasant. It just depends on who you come in contact with. But these people have no desire to change their job. They are loving their job. They are never leaving their job as far as they're concerned. As a matter of fact, the thought of their job even letting them go seems asinine to them, right? They are passive talent because they are good at what they do. They love the work that they do, and they're going to stay at their job. They are way harder to recruit. Okay, you got to sell these people on leaving their job. Like, you're gonna sweat. You're gonna be sweating. Okay, trying to get them to leave their current job. I actually love passive candidates because I get to really see how great I am as a recruiter and as a salesperson. If you love your job and I can talk you out of your job and going into another opportunity, that makes me extraordinary. And I'm very great at that, right? So I take pride in that. So I love my passive candidates, but they are their own candidate type in their own right, just as a semi-active passive candidate is, just as an active candidate is. And rookies see all candidates the same, and they are not. Rookies value all candidates the same, and they cannot be valued the same. There are 3 different types of candidates, and I guarantee you based on where they are, and this candidate type will define how long they stay at that job, whether they're going to take the job or not. It's a lot of different factors that come into play. You don't really know that unless you've actually been a recruiter, or unless you actually are connecting with a coach who has that experience to be able to let you know this is who they are and this is how you engage with them. Even to take this a next step further, how you market to them is very differently. Passive candidates do not care about your job postings. They're not even looking. Understand? So if you're looking for someone specific and you're thinking that posting a job is how you're going to get them, that's not how you're going to get them, because they're not even looking at your job. They're passive. They don't care, so it's very, very important for you to understand that. So you're going to spend the majority of your time when you start this business talking to candidates first, before you ever start talking to clients. The candidate comes before the client. 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 Okay? Period. Like, there's no argument in that. Please stop trying to go get the client before you have the product. No company can function without people in their business working. They can put the idea in the shell together, but they're not going to do much or make much or go far unless they have the right team in place. Your job as a staffing agency is to help build that team for that organization. That should be your mindset from the day you open up that staffing agency. So every time you're talking to an active, semi-active / passive candidate, your job should be, how are you going to fit into my future client's company's team? You got to be thinking team. Ooh, team. Oh, team. Okay. That should be your thought process. Okay. So now you got these 3 candidate types. You got to market to these 3 candidate types, because you've got to get to know them before you start dealing with the clients. And we call that in staffing the art of pipelining. You got to pipeline your candidates. Okay. So you're going to pipeline these candidates. You're going to be talking to them. You're going to be attracting them. And the way you do that should be, specific. It shouldn't be just like the same way everybody else is doing it, or unless you're going to get the same thing everybody else is getting. You don't want that. Just because you're a fast food restaurant doesn't mean you have to sell the same exact thing that every other fast food restaurant sells. Okay. There are 1,000 fast food restaurants. You got McDonald's, you got Burger King, you got Wendy's. They all sell burgers, but they sell them in a different way. So you don't have to position your staffing agency in the same exact way that everybody else does and does the same exact process, right? You can have variations to your process that allow you to be able to bring in the types of candidates that you need to bring in order to build the teams that need to be built for the employers that you are looking to support. Hello. Did you feel that energy? I know you did. I know you did. Okay. All right. Let's keep going. Okay. So now we're talking about pipelining. You're pipelining. You're getting on the phones every day, all day. You're getting on the emails. You're doing whatever you need to do to attract people. So you want to attract talent and to source talent. Go out and get them. So those are 2 more things you need to know. So you're either attracting talent or you're sourcing talent. And I told you, you have 3 different candidate types. So in your mind as the CEO, this is where it starts getting real, because a lot of y'all, they come on here with these fake ass videos trying to make you think that it's just like ding, 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 and then you can set the business up. No, you have to think like a boss, like an entrepreneur, if you really want to see the business come out the way you want, right? So if you know you have 3 candidate types and you have to attract these candidates and you have to source them. Attract them means post and market. Source means go out and find them, call them, talk to them, and bring them to you. So you have to do both of those things or you're going to be 10 times behind. Okay. Anybody who just posts a job posting and waits for people to apply, they are the laziest recruiter on the planet. They really do not want to fill jobs in their company. Okay. I'm going to tell you that right now. Like, if you're just waiting for something, it's like you're just saying, okay, I'm going to post and I'm going to let anybody that comes apply. If when you're a recruiter, this is the one thing you're going to find out very early on. When you post that job, people, okay, I'm going to just give you an example. So, like, I post a job for an attorney right now, right? I want a litigation attorney, 30 years experience, got to have a PhD in, whatever, right? Do you know the janitor will apply to that role? Do you know school teacher will apply to that role? No legal degree, no legal experience. Okay, none of that. Okay, they will still apply. You will have people who will apply who have 0 experience for the role, which is a time waster for you as a recruiter when you're trying to like get through things and stuff like that. But it also lets you know that if you leave to chances your talent based on what you post, waiting for people to apply, you're not really loving on your business appropriately. You're not really investing in your business appropriately, right? You are there to find talent. Posting is just one part of the process. So you post a job for search engine optimization. You post a job for active and semi-active job seekers. You post a job for brand awareness so people can see you're hiring and that they know that you're hiring and they can refer. That's why you post the job. But you also are going to do marketing. You should have a social media marketing campaign going. Maybe some type of digital assets to engage your people. Maybe you're doing an event to bring people in. And I'm not talking about the old school job fair. I mean, a real event, right? So you might be doing some of those things to attract, because that's talent attraction. And then you're also going to source. So you're going to go out and find people. You're going to get their emails, phone numbers, profiles, resumes, get on the phone, email and text them. Hey, how you doing? My name is Dee Williams. I'm calling from Identifies Consulting. I see that you have some great experience, background in whatever, picking berries. I'm just making that up. And I wanted to talk to you a little bit more about where you are in your career, where you're looking to go. Do you have a couple of moments, or can I get you? Can you spare 15 minutes on my calendar? Okay. And now you're engaging with them. That's sourcing. That's something that most people are afraid to do. Rookies don't source. Rookies post and pray. Okay. And if you're just posting and praying, I'm gonna tell you how bad that is for you as a business owner, or how bad that is for your employer clients. Let me talk about that. If you're a staffing agency and how you attract talent is by posting jobs only, that the company that hired you should fire you, period. Because they can do that on their own and get the same group of people. So if that is your only means, you should be fired, period. They are hiring you because you are spending all your time and energy finding talent, and not in the same way that they're doing. I mean, you can, but you should be doing so much more. That's what they're hiring you for. That's why when you go meet with an employer, one of the first questions they ask you is, what's your process? Because they want to know that they ain't paying you to be doing the same thing that they already doing in their own, which is bare minimum. They are doing the bare minimum. That's why they're willing to pay you to help them, because they're doing the bare minimum. What is the bare minimum? Posting and praying that God sends them the right talent. And I ain't saying God ain't real, or that he don't work, or she don't work, because I feel like God is a woman. I don't care how y'all feel about that, but I feel like God is a woman. I feel like, that's my personal opinion. You do what you want with that. But what I'm saying to you is that you have more power to go and get what you want by actually going out and sourcing your candidates versus just posting and praying, or by creating marketing strategies that will attract the right talent. Most people who start a staffing business, rookies, only focus on the marketing strategies to attract the employer. I've seen many go get the contract and never make a freaking dollar. Why? Because they don't have no talent. They don't have no relationships with talent. They never took the time to put the work in to get the talent. They just assume that I can just post and pray and that the talent is going to come, not realizing the employer's already done that, which doesn't even make sense. But this is literally how people come to me. And I had to just bring them on back to reality. Come on, baby. There ain't nobody paying you 30, 40, 50, 60,000 a year for you to go post and pray. Come on. All right. So we're attracting talent because, I start getting in some booty over here now. We're attracting talent and we're sourcing talent. Now, I want to pull the layers back. I'm not going to go hard. I will stay here because I'm going hard. I won't say, okay. So now once you got your talent in, you're going to start and you're going to stay at the pipelining stage for a period of time. Now, what most companies don't know, if you own a company, if you're the CEO of a company, the thing that most of them don't realize, especially if you're a small company, is that you should be recruiting for your company every day. You should be interviewing for your company every day, even if you don't have any job openings. You should be recruiting, meeting people, connecting with people, talking to people, building relationships with people to grow your organization every day. Okay. With a lot of my newbies, we put them on a weekly schedule, and 2 hours a week, they'll spend time going online, reaching out to people on LinkedIn, seeing what they're doing, asking to schedule an appointment, whatever the case may be. They're preparing for that opening that's coming about. Why is this important? If you're a small company, you're just getting started, you need help. And you'll be surprised how many people don't need a big salary, how many people are going through different changes in their life, and they want to come in and work for you. They want to come in and help bring your vision to life, bring your dream to life. But instead, rookie owners are so, obsessed with the things that they're doing every day that they take this part of the business that needs to be on the forefront and make it on the back end of the burner. I've been a victim of that too. I ain't gonna lie. But it's because it's easy to do. It's easy to feel like I don't even have any money or I'm not even ready to hire. Why would I interview like that? But if you have a vision, if you are a creator and you are taking the time to start this business, that means that you are conjuring the energy that you need in order to bring it to life. And if you're conjuring the energy you need to bring it to life, do you not think that the universe is not going to put the right people in your place at the right time? The only way, though, that you'll be able to connect with that is if you actually are out there engaging and talking to people about your business. So you should spend at least 2 hours a week interviewing somebody for your business, right? Well, as you would be doing that as the owner for your staffing agency, but your pipeline and candidates to be placed in your employer's place of business as well. And you're talking to them every day, every day, every day. It took me 3 months of pipelining before I got my first job order when I started my last staffing agency. 3 months of pipelining. My mama was talking smack. My ex-husband was talking smack. I was losing everything. It was a true story. And I was all over the place. I was just calling random people. Oh my God. It wasn't until I really buckled down. I was like, I'm only going to do recruiters. I'm not going to do nobody else but recruiters. I started building LinkedIn groups solely around recruiters. And I just made up in my mind that I'm going to take over the world. I'm going to know every recruiter's going to know me. I'm going to know every recruiter. And I'm going to do everything I can to become the recruiter whisperer. And that's exactly what I did. I was picking up the phone, calling people, calling recruiters, and talking to them. If they would talk to me, I would talk to them. If they wouldn't, fine. If they was rescheduling, didn't show up to the interview, I worked my market. I created it, worked it, built it, nurtured it. I had a follow-up system that was undeniable. And I really just took the L. It was a hard L because when I started my business, I didn't have a lot of money. I didn't have a lot of money saved. I kind of quit my job in the middle of the day. So I wasn't in a position to really have 3 months to sit. I didn't have 3 months of money to sit on. So it was like, do you want to eat? Do you want to live? Then you got to hustle. And so, but I wasn't making any money. And, but I didn't want to give up either because I'm a winner. I'm not a loser. And if I put my mind to something, then I know I'm going to do it. And you have to have that energy and that mindset in order to bring this business to life. A lot of y'all are too relaxed. Like you should be on the edge of your seat, like on that phone every day. Anyway, that's a whole nother conversation, but that's exactly what I did. And I just called every recruiter I could get in contact. They joined my LinkedIn group. I was trying to get an appointment with them. You know what I'm saying? I was going out to recruiting events and just different things like that. Just walking up to people, introducing myself. And I'll give you my secret sauce right here, right now. I tell you that networking was everything. I would tell them like, hey, listen, if you know anyone who's looking to hire a recruiter, remember my name. Call me, D. Williams. They're like, okay. I said, remember my name. I said, I remember. I said, let me hear you say it. Call D. Williams. Say my name, D. Williams. They be laughing at me and say my name. They're like, D. Williams. I'm like, that's right. And if you know of an employer who's looking to hire a recruiter, what's my name again? D. Williams. Who are you going to call? D. Williams. Okay, that's what I thought. And then I would put it on my emails. I would shoot on a text message. I kind of made a joke around it for a long period of time. But my first client that came in, she was like, do you still do recruiting? I was like, yes. She's like, I don't know why, but something in my mind said, call D. Williams. My boss has an open and she's having a hard time filling, and something just kept saying, call D. Williams. I was on the other end like, yes, it works. It works. And I ended up getting my first 3 job orders. And from that point, my business went up. And it's like, you just have to, and that it seemed like everybody after that was like, I'm supposed to call you with this, right? But it took time to plant those seeds, to constantly remind people that I am the whisperer. You definitely want to call me. I was willing to invest that time. Most people aren't willing to invest that time. Rookies, definitely not. Rookies go right after the client, look for a job order. And if they can't get the job order, they're like, oh, this business don't work. Ain't did nothing. Ain't did 1% of work other than set the business, but claim the business don't work because they didn't take the time to do what? Find and nurture their product. Okay. So once you start pipelining your candidates and you start interviewing them, let me tell you a little bit about the hiring process. Don't skip it. Do not skip it. I've got a client right now. He wants to do everything fast. The easy, fast way drives me bananas, but I can't say anything because he's paying me, so I have to say, well, let me say I say things in a certain way. I'll say it like that, but he's still doing what he wants to do. So I tell him, listen, when you are interviewing people to come into your company, you want to do 4 interviews. I'm talking internal. I'm not talking about for your candidates. I'm talking about internally for your internal company. You want to do 4 interviews. D, don't you think that's obsessive? No, I don't think that's obsessive. You want to interview them 4 times. Do you think you can interview somebody one time for 15 minutes and define whether or not they're going to be a good person for your company? You think that's enough? D, I mean, if they tell me what they do in their background, I'm going to believe. I just check their references and I'm going to hire them. I'm saying yes, but you're only experiencing them one time for 15 minutes. That's not enough time to really understand somebody's character, to really get into the weed of things and really understanding them. You really got to do 3 or 4 interviews. So I do and I have a very strong hiring process that I teach my clients at Staffingpreneurs Academy and that we follow by, and it works like a charm. It only stops working when people skip the bullet points. But you want to start off with the application. You want to have a screening because the funnel, the idea is that you're trying to weed them out. So you want to have a lot of people apply, but you want to weed them out to get to your final one person that's your perfect hire. So you want to have that application. You have your applicant tracking system that you integrate into the website. They apply on your website, and you have an application process where they're weeding themselves. Like, no, I don't have that experience. Yes, I have that experience. No, yes, what have you. And now they get to the next point where we do a 15-minute conversation. That 15-minute conversation is just to feel the energy and to do a second screening because they lie on I'm telling you, they lie. First of all, most of the resumes you get is a lie. I'm gonna just keep it real. It's a lie. Okay. Second of all, when they answer them questions, they be lying. Okay. Just keep it real with you. And you'll find out once you get to that 15-minute interview and ask darn near the same questions, and you'll see that most of the time they're not being honest with you. But let's say that they are. You do your 15-minute interview to continue to screen them out. Then once you decide, okay, this person seems like they're fit, then you schedule a 30-minute Zoom interview. That 30-minute Zoom interview is for you to learn more about them, their background and their experience and what they've done, right? How they're engaging with on their current team and so forth, and to further establish the relationship. Now, you're supposed to be establishing a relationship with this candidate every step of the way. How can you do that if you're only doing one 15-minute interview? Okay. Second of all, how can you know whether or not this candidate is telling the truth or lying to you if you are not, if you're only meeting with them once? How can you gauge their character if you're only meeting with them once? Because when you meet somebody one time for 15 minutes, I can tell you anything and you can have an impression of me. I can show up any way you want me to show up. The question is, can I show up like that the second time, the third time, the fourth time? Am I going to say the same things I said the first time, the second, third, and fourth time? These are things you're not thinking about. People, when you're a candidate, you're interviewing like, oh my God, they got me in a fourth interview. Yes, it's to get to know you. It's to see if you are who you say you are. Most people are liars. Most people are not showing up as who they say they are. Believe it or not, it's crazy, but they're not. And some people are just desperate to get the job for many reasons, for money, for notoriety, for whatever the case may be, whatever they have in their mind. So your job is to screen them and evaluate them to see if they are who they say they are. You'd be surprised how many people are not even evaluating people before they hire them. And then they get mad that they have to fire them so quickly. I'm telling you, I learned the hard way. Okay, I learned the hard way because I was one of those people that was like, why I gotta go to all these days on interviews? They don't want it. I don't want it. Why do I have to do it? But when you spend, it's your money and you find yourself firing more than you hiring, or you're constantly trying to figure out how to get that right person, you have to sit back at some point and say, okay, what am I doing wrong? And how do I fix it? And you start to realize that the recruiting process is there for a reason. And it's set up for a reason because it's set up for a reason. It's set, to protect you and to ensure that you're not wasting your money. And I'm going through this with you in detail in the way that I am because I want you to understand that this is what the client is paying for. Even though you're not going to probably interview your candidate 4 times, they're paying you to interview and evaluate them. And if you're taking the time and energy to do this in your own company, imagine what your process needs to be to ensure that you're getting the right people to show up for somebody who is paying you 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, $100,000, not just one time, sometimes a week, right? So, okay. So now you got your 30-minute interview. You're getting to know them. You're understanding how they work in their current role, their role before. Then you're going to do a 1-hour interview. Now you're going to get into the mental. Now you're going to get into, is this person culturally a fit? Is this person ethical? Is this person going to show up? You can do a lot of different things in that third interview, the 1 hour. That could be in person or Zoom. I prefer in person. Okay. And there you have it, right? And we go into all the details in the academy, but that's what you're essentially doing in that interview right there. And in between those interviews, there should be some additional evaluation, some assessment. Are you a thief? When I went to work at Payless back in the day, yes, I worked at Payless Shoes back in the day. The first couple of times I went to go work there, I couldn't pass the test. Not that I'm unethical, but they had some crazy tests that you had to pass for them to define whether or not you were going to steal their shoes or money out the cash register, which I thought was very interesting. I'm the most ethical person. The people that sometimes I work with weren't, but they learned how to skip the test. I had to go back and retake the test and prove to these people that wasn't me. And I ended up being a great employee, one of the top shoe sellers, right? No, whole nother life, whole nother story. But I just remember taking that test, and I remember me asking the HR lady, and she's like, the thieves are the ones that typically pass on the first try. So I'm really comfortable with giving you the test more than once. But it was the fact that they had one. It was the fact that they saw that their churn, and they're out of business now, just FYI, due to this reason. One of these is one of the reasons that they're due to this. But due to the churn, to the point where they had to incorporate in their hiring process an assessment that every cashier had to take, not just the manager, the cashier, to ensure that to decrease the chances of them hiring someone who was a thief right. So that shows you how it's important that you're doing some level of evaluation beyond the interview process. There needs to be some additional evaluation taking place. Okay. So skills assessment, Can you count? I don't know, whatever your assessment is. Okay. You need to have assessments. Okay. So you're going through that. And so then you have a final interview. The final interview. Now, this is for me. This is my process. You can do whatever you want. I'm telling you that this is probably the most important interview when you're hiring somebody internally, at least. And that's a comp and culture interview, a culture and compensation interview. This is where you reiterate that you are the right culture fit for my organization. So I am the person that typically does this interview, the last interview in the process. My team does all the other interviews and I do the last one. And I'm pretty no nonsense. I'm like, look, if I don't have time, don't waste my time, don't waste my money. That's pretty much how I am. I mean, I'm more professional than that, but that's what that interview is about. If you're not fitting in my culture, there's no reason for you and I to go further. I want to ensure that you and I agree that this is where you want to be. And then we go through the compensation plan and make sure that they understand how they're going to make their money in the organization and what value asset that they are to the organization and so forth. During this entire process, when you're talking about internal hiring, you should be pumping up your organization. You should be getting the buy-in, because our goal is to get people who not just need a paycheck, but actually see the vision of the organization and actually want to buy into that vision and bring it to life. When you're recruiting for your clients, you're to do the same exact thing, but you have to do it in two ways. One for your company and for the employer's company. Okay. All right. So that's very important. But if you're not getting the candidate to buy in, if there's no buy-in, like if you're just recruiting and you're not like, trying to ensure that they're going to be a valuable asset to your team, don't waste your time, money, or energy on interviewing them. Okay? Just don't. You're wasting your time. They're just there for the paycheck. You want people who are actually going to love your company and love working for you, as stern as you may be. And you have to be stern. Don't be loving. Okay? As stern as you may be, you're the boss, but they respect you, admire you, and want to work for you. They want to show up for you. They want to see this business come to life. Okay, those are very, very important things, and you need to have that thought process as you're interviewing. Okay, now as you finish that final interview and you finish your skills assessment, then you're going to start credentialing. Now, if you're in the healthcare space, you're going to credential throughout the entire process. If you're in any other space, you're probably going to credential more towards the end of this process. If you're pipelining, you're going to do very little credentialing. You're going to do basic credentialing. If you're interviewing, you're doing hardcore credentialing. Okay. And now you're getting your candidate, if you're recruiting for a client, ready to be submitted to the employer. This is where the sales process really kicks up, because here is where you have to have taken everything that you have known about this candidate from the time you started attracting and sourcing through the evaluation and credentialing process. You now understand this candidate's character. You understand who they are. You're believing in them. You're trying to show up. You've got to now sell this candidate to the employer. You got to sell. You got to sell this candidate. And that submittal is the sales proposal to the employer regarding whether or not they should interview your candidate. Now, if you're in PRN, you don't get this opportunity, unfortunately, because they just fill shifts, right? And a lot of times, even working on the VMS, they're just putting people in shifts. Shift work, you're not going to see this so much. But in every other area, you have to format that resume and make it look beautiful for the employer. And it's not just about it aesthetically being beautiful, because I don't care so much about that, more of it being easy to read. But it needs to identify all of the most important things that's important to that client and that job on that resume, which means you have to take time to restructure that resume, rewrite that resume, and position that candidate in a sales manner to that employer to get to sell that employer on, yes, you want to interview my candidate and you want to do it now. This is how you make your money. No submittals, you make no money. You're not submitting, you ain't making no money. If you're not submitting, you're not making no money. If you're not submitting, you're not making no money. You need to be submitting resumes every day. So if you're not submitting, you're not making money, you need to call me. You need to be calling me right now. You need to be calling me. You need to be at staffingpreneursacademy.com. And you need to go to book a call, and you need to call me if you're not making money, because this is the easy way. I'm telling you how you make your money. Okay. So, all right, now we've got the submittal. We're selling the candidate. The employer is this, and your process is literally the same way, except for you internally, you don't need to format your resume. You already have the candidate's resume. Hopefully, the candidate has took enough time and thought into making sure the resume was specific to your role, right? But here, I'm just telling you because I'm kind of going back and forth because I want you to understand that your recruiting process internally is just as important as the process that you're creating and going through for your employer. Okay, they're no different. Okay. All right. So now you submitted your candidate, you're selling your candidate. The employer looks at the candidate and he says, "Tell me why this candidate is a good fit." This is the brief because he's going to look at the resume and say, I like the candidate. Why is it a fit? You're going to brief your employer. This candidate's a great fit because they got this, that. If you are in your company as the CEO and you have a recruiter that is filling roles for you, they need to be selling you on why the candidate is a fit as well. Then if they're not, fire them right now. They're not doing their job. Period. Fire them now. They're not doing their job. Okay? Because they're supposed to be selling you on why the candidate is a great fit. And if you're not receiving that as an employer, you don't have the right recruiter on your team. I can tell you that right now, and you probably want to call D. Williams. Okay? So you're going to brief your employer, and you're going to tell your employer, this is great, and the employer is going to say, okay, let's interview them. And you're going to choose a day and time. And when you do that, that's great because then you're going to go and do a candidate brief. You're going to tell the candidate, oh my God, the employer loves you. They think you're a great fit. And this is, this is your interview day and time. And you're going to schedule that interview with the candidate. Okay. So the candidate and the client are going to interview. You brief both of them. During the brief, you made sure that you let them know that once the interview ends, that they're both to call you immediately. Unless you're there physically, then you can be there physically, but they're to call you immediately for the debrief. Because just like there was a brief, there needs to be a debrief for both the candidate and the client. So you're going to debrief your client and debrief your candidate. And I love this part the most of the hire process because when you talk to the candidate first, typically you talk to the candidate first and you're like, how did you do? Oh, I did amazing. Oh my God. Do you think that you're going to get the job? Oh, I know I'm going to get the job. They loved me. I know they're going to, okay, great. And you're talking to them and you're closing them. Okay, so I just want to confirm you're comfortable with this, whatever, hourly rate, whatever. Okay. When you debrief with the client, you're like, oh my gosh, how'd you love the candidate? He was the worst. I love that part because whatever the candidate thinks, the client never, I don't say never, but it's always interesting to see their perspective and vice versa. The candidate might be like, oh my God, that was the worst interview ever. And then you talk to the employer and it's like, we need to hire them now. You know what I'm saying? So that's why the debrief is very important because you want to hear both perspectives. I have found that the debrief is the most valuable part of the process because once I understand what he does not like about a candidate, I can go back to the process and go find the right person. So I really don't mind like throwing a candidate out there at him, having him interview a candidate, not to waste his time or anything like that. But that first interview, that first resume submittal, the feedback that I get back from my employer, from my hiring manager is, I love it. Right? Because then I can go back and really, really, really find the true fit of what they're looking for. And I'll tell you, I know y'all have heard this story 1,000 times, but I was working for this company in Silver Spring, Maryland, some years ago, and they were not far from Capitol Hill. I won't say the name of the company, but Zode, I love you. If you're watching this, I know you watch my lives quite often. But I was recruiting executive roles. It was a mainly an all male executive team. They only had one female executive, and they were looking to fill this position. I know factually with a man, right? I know like the way the team went, but I don't play those games. We're going to get the right fit. So anyway, I interviewed these people, came across this lady. I fell in love with her. I knew immediately she was the right fit. When she came into the interview, I interviewed her for like 4 hours. We were in a conference room, whiteboard and everything. Like I knew she was the fit. So I submitted her and all these other people. They loved her immediately. They brought her in for, no, I'm sorry. So they saw the resume and they were like, no, she's not a fit. And I'm like, wait, why is she not a fit? And they're like, she don't have this, and that. I'm like, oh, okay. So I went back, called her up, and was like, "Do you have experience with this?" She was like, "Yeah, of course. I got da da da." I'm like, "Do you have experience with this?" She's like, "Yeah, of course." I went through everything. She had experience with all of those things. I was like, "Okay, you got to come back in the office." So she came back in the office. We went through. She came back that night. We went back and bullet pointed everything that she did under all those bullet points. I rewrote her submittal, her write up, resubmitted it to him. The next day I came in, the VP calls me in his office. He's pissed. I'm talking visibly angry with me. He says to me, "If I tell you that that I say no to a candidate, I mean no to a candidate." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "But you resubmitted this lady back to me." And I said, "Yeah, I think she's the fit for the role. But I told you no." I said, "Yes, but you told me no under these pretenses that she wasn't a fit because you didn't see these things." So I went back to her to confirm that that was true. And it turns out that she actually did, and I just for the sake of the company and the growth of where the company is going, we're looking for somebody that does this, that. This young lady not only does this, she's done it successfully in the past and has a plan on how she believes that she can get us to here. Let me tell you a little bit about her plan. Oh, he was bloodshot red by the end of that conversation. He's like, "You can leave my office now." And I was livid. I was so mad. And when I got to the door, to go to the door, he said, "Ms. Williams." I said, "Yes." He said, "Bring her back in for an interview and don't ever do that again." I brought her back in for an interview. She got the job, of course. Of course she did, because D. Williams, okay? But it took a lot of work, to even prove to him that she was the right candidate. And so I say that to say, don't be afraid, one, to push back on your manager, because sometimes it's just them being egotistical. He was just being egotistical. The company at the end of the day needed someone like her to shift, where they were going, where they were trying to go, to take the company where they were trying to go. It doesn't matter whether she's a man or not. It's like, can she do the job? And if you think she can't do the job, it's my job as a recruiter to show you that she's a fit for the job. This is where most rookies fail, in my opinion, even with the write-up and the evaluation process. This is why I help my people build a secret sauce, because they don't take the interviewing process and the evaluation process seriously enough to understand that that is where you go to find out whether or not you got an A candidate, B candidate, C candidate, D candidate. Okay. And where they fit into the scheme of things. And I'm going to tell you something I never want you to forget. You can have 1,000 signed contracts, 1,000 job orders. If you don't have any candidates to put in there, you ain't going to make a daggone dollar. But if you have 10,000 amazing candidates that you can show their experience, you can take that and sell that into an organization and make millions of dollars. Your candidates are your capital. Your candidates are your capital. Your candidates are your capital. And the way in which you figure out whether they're good or bad candidates is through that process. That hiring process is essential to your success, to the success of your business, and to the success of your the client company's business that you are supporting. Okay. I got fired up. Don't judge me. Okay. Now, after you go through all of that and you do the debrief, you find out, so first of all, if they decline your candidate, you're going to go and look for another one. I just want to make sure that's clear. If they don't decline your candidate, then they're going to move on with the process, right? And with the offer process. So the candidate is either going to accept the offer or not. You should have been closing that candidate every step of the way. So from the very first conversation to the very last conversation, you should be finding out from the candidate what they are willing to work for, salary, hourly rate, and so forth. Candidates lie. Also, after the interview, if the candidate feels like they have to do more work than what the job originally entailed, they may change their mind about how they're like, "I'm willing to do the job, but you're going to pay me 20,000 more and 10,000 more." You know what I'm saying? Or whatever the case may be. So you should be constantly asking the candidate every step of the way. I just want to make sure we're still good with this. So if the employer asks you today, if they say, "We'll offer you this job at this a rate, will you take it?" And you have to keep asking that throughout the process. Rookies don't ask that throughout the process. And then by the time the offer comes, then it's like, oh my God, like they didn't accept the offer. Why? It's because you weren't closing them at all. You waited until the very end of the process to close them, and you can't do that. You've got to close them every step of the way. ABC, always be closing. Never let that leave your mind. Okay, so the candidate, let's just say they accept the offer. And in Staffingpreneurs Academy, we go through in grave detail how to negotiate the offer on behalf of your candidate, all the different things that you can negotiate through the offer and the whole nine. Then they accept the offer. Once they accept the offer, then if it's healthcare everywhere, you're going to do final credentialing. Because like typically I don't call the candidate's current boss for a reference check until I know the candidate accepted the offer. Then I ask for that reference check. I'll do that reference check at the end, praying that it's a good one. But now you're going to start setting the candidate up. So internally and externally, when you decide, yes, I want this candidate to work for me, you're going to establish a start date for the candidate. Typically, it's a week or two out that gives you an opportunity to get them onboarded. You should have some type of training set up ready for your candidates. I don't care whether they're internal, if they're external and they're going to a client site, you should be asking the client, what's the training regimen for that candidate? How do we get them onboarded? The next thing you have to do is get them oriented and onboarded. If you don't orient and onboard, they're not going to take you seriously. They're not going to respect you, okay? People want to know that you have a process. They take you seriously in that way. If you don't have a process, then they're like, oh, they ain't even real. I had this lady actually tell me one time, you got a fake business anyway because she didn't get an onboarding. Girl, I was so livid with that lady. Yeah, it's a fake business. But I guess in a way, she could probably feel that way because I didn't go through the process of actually hiring her appropriately, right? So you have to give a start date. Once you have that start date, your job is to stay in contact with them between that time and the time that they start, still engaging in that relationship to make sure that they show up. Because just because somebody say they're going to take the job doesn't mean they're going to show up for the first day of work. That's very true. You can lose somebody before they even start. They could have accepted more than one job. You know what I'm saying? So you want to stay in contact with them. You might have them do a drug test. You might have them do a background check during that time. You might check additional references. Whatever the case may be, all of that stuff happens during that time. When they start on their first day, they should get a employee manual. Okay, they should get policies and procedures. All right. They should be onboarded into your company. They should know where they fit into your company, how valuable they are as a part of your team. Okay. You got to establish rules right off the break, and you let them know if you do this, you will lose your job. You're on a 90-day probationary period. You can be let go at any moment. This is an at-will state. These are the rules. You got 3 strikes, you're out. Whatever your process is that we take, like when you're in the academy, we give you your handbook. And we go through that employee handbook in grave detail for you to define what your rules are. A lot of people don't want to take the time to do that because like, oh my God, it's a whole handbook. But if you don't have rules, then people ain't going to follow them. They're going to create their own rules and do whatever they want to do. And look at you like you're crazy when you say you want to implement a rule. It's so disrespectful, but it's true. Okay. Because even in a relationship, you have to establish rules. Think about that. You got to say, hey, no, you don't get to do that anymore. You're now in a relationship. It's the same thing when you hire someone. So you go through the rules and all of that stuff. And then, in my opinion, if you're on a 90-day probation, I don't care what role you on, there are things you better do within the first 90 days to let me know that you want to be here. And I'm tracking and I'm watching. And that goes for your candidates that you're putting on contract. Just because they're not your direct employee per se doesn't mean they get to just laddygag. And you know what I'm saying? You want to be able to do surveys with your employer to make sure that the employer to make sure that they're showing up and representing your company on behalf of you and at the highest of standards that you have for yourself and your organization. So being able to monitor them for those 90 days, being able to track them and what they're doing and what they're not doing, is important. And in how you set up your business structure is going to define what that looks like, whether or not you reward them, whether or not you talk to them throughout the process. Do they get points for the things they do that they don't do? I don't know. But that's something you get to decide to make your company super amazing. That's why people hire me. They hire me to come and help them make their company freaking amazing, right? And so that's what you get to decide. Really exciting. The candidate starts work, they're going through their onboarding, and then your job is to follow up. Okay, you're constantly following up. How are things going? How do you feel about the work that you're doing? Are you overwhelmed? Can you do a new hire onboarding survey? Just kind of whatever the case may be, you're going to stay in contact with them. If they're internal, you want to continue to do that with them over the 90 days. If they're external, you want to do it over the 90 days, but it's just as a follow-up procedure. And I went through the candidate journey. I'm not going through the employer journey today, but I went through the candidate journey because I want you to understand that this is where most rookies lose. They do not understand that their candidates are their capital, that the candidates are the product, and the process in which they have established for their organization and for that candidate journey defines how successful that they will be in their business and how much money they're going to make. Okay, so I don't went way too far. I had too much fun doing this, but like, do you have questions for me? I don't know if y'all have any questions because I was kind of going hard. Do y'all have any questions? Any questions? Any questions? We're talking about setting up a staff. Y'all are very attentive, like really, really in it. I love that. But any questions? Is there anything that you're doing differently that you, or is there anything that you're doing that you feel like you should be doing differently? You know what I'm saying? Now that you've heard this process of this journey, is it like, oh man, I should have been doing that, or oh, I need to think about that. I didn't think about that as much. That's something you definitely, those are the questions that I have that I would like for you to ponder. You can put it in the comments. I do read the comments, believe it or not. So yes, those are the questions that I have for you. And, today is really, I didn't even get into the money part, like how much money you can make and all of that stuff, because I've gone a little bit longer than I wanted to. But, I wanted you to see the process. I wanted you to understand the process. I want to make sure that you're not making rookie moves. And if you are, I want you to know that I am here. Staffingpreneurs Academy is here to support you, right? To help you get from point A to point B. To really make money in your staffing business, to set your staffing business up correctly, to do things with meaning, right? Not just putting things in place. This is not a business model where you just throw things together. Hiring is the most expensive part of every company, and if you don't have the right people in your company can fail. Your company and the company that you are doing the recruiting and hiring for. So it's very important that you take this process extremely seriously and that you are really kind of pulling the process apart. Like you're really like pulling the layers, apart so that, you can really, make sure that you are hiring the right people and bringing the right people on your team to grow your organization and to grow your clients' organizations. I hope y'all are fired up. All right. So listen, if you are starting a staffing business, somebody starting a staffing business, you got to share this video with them. If you're starting a staffing business, I want you to come back and watch all my videos. Okay. But I also want you to schedule an appointment on my calendar so we can talk about how we can take your business to the next level. Okay. Because this is very doable. You can make a lot of money. Okay. And you can create a lot of impact in society. And I'm not talking about you got to be the person to make $1 billion in the next 10 years, right? That's just what you have the potential to make. But you can make $1 million in the next year. You can make $3 million in the next year. You can make $5 million in the next couple of years. You can make $10 million in the next couple of years. That wouldn't hurt, right? Putting a little bit of time, energy, and effort right now, just a little bit of extorted effort right now, locking, I'm doing a 90-day lock-in. Okay, just locking in and focusing on doing the things that you need to do in order to bring this business to life. Some of you, this lock-in, for some of you, should be candidates, calling candidates. Some of you, this 90-day lock-in is about calling candidates and pipeline. Okay, but just keep it real. Some of you, this 90-day lock-in ain't about nothing but getting on the phone and building your pipeline, creating your market. You got to lock in 90 days. This ain't even my 90-day live. That's tonight. But just to put things into perspective for my staffingpreneurs, because many of you all are in the 90-day lock-in. Don't be playing around just because I wasn't here for Saturday or Sunday. Don't mean I'm not locked in. I'm locked in. Trust. I'm locked in. Trust in a major way. So locked in, you'll see today. But you got to lock in and start focusing on your candidates. For some of you, you got tons of candidates you building relationships with, you're talking to them every day, and now your goal is to do the same thing with the employer side. But I guarantee you, if you're talking to your candidates every day, you're really locked in, you don't have to do a lot of sales because they're selling on your behalf. But that's what we teach in the academy as well, how to work smarter, not harder. All right. I love y'all. I will see y'all next week. Let me just look and see if I have any questions in my academy. Nope. All right. Perfect. I'll see y'all next week. Let's do an outro. I love y'all. Staffingpreneurs Academy. Like this video. Subscribe to my channel, please. And let's see. We'll do an outro video. I'll see y'all in the next live.
Unleash your ideas. Unleash your ideas. No time to wait. Build your dream. Don't let it escape. From the vision to the code, from the thought to the sale, you've got the fire. Now set your trail. Cause empires rise where ideas ignite. This is your moment. This is your life.